Hi, thanks for coming. The next topic is by Asushi Enosan on can we build better music software ecosystem for generative era. Asushi Enosan is a music software tools enthusiast. He works on audio plugins for Android, Linux, MML, MIDI, LV2. He also works with Kotlin multi-platform in his free time. This topic will talk about the current problems with the audio plugins ecosystem and DAWs, compare existing plugin formats, related technology, and discuss how we can improve the situation. I'll hand it off to him. Please give him a warm welcome. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Okay, so can we build a bit of music software ecosystem for more generative? Sorry if I excuse the long topic. It sounds like a Japanese light novel title or whatever. Well, in this session, I will talk about mostly about audio application ecosystem. By ecosystem, I mean we use DAW and instruments and effects, whatever. DAW is like digital audio workstations that people use this kind of software to compose music on PCs. And plugins are instruments and effects, audio plugins in general. And to play this kind of instruments, we use something like MIDI. MIDI is a music instrument digital interface, some kind of binary message. Something like MIDI or exactly MIDI either. And the primary topic in this session is like, can we bring our DAW project file to my new PC, from my older PC to new PC, like say, including things like suppose I currently use Windows and I want to bring the music project to macOS or Linux. Is it possible or not? And the answer should be yes. And apparently I said should, so it's not right now. And especially I mean between different platforms as well. And can we maintain modern music production quality? Like say, you can do that using use the MIDI export feature and then copy the MIDI file to the new PC and import it back. And that is not what I want. I want a lot more data directly imported to the new PC. That is the problem I kind of want to resolve, and I still don't, but I want to share some of my knowledge over there. And let me share some background on modern music production. We usually use either VST3 audio unit, LV2 or CLAF as a plugin format. Plugin format is take it as an interface. So that any kind of DAW software can use any kind of instruments or effects plugins in arbitrary combination. It is made possible because they are interface. And one thing, I would say none of those existing formats are kind of ideal. Even on the CLAP, like CLAP was released just 3 years ago, which is very new in audio industry. Like 3 years ago is very new in our region somehow. And one thing to note is that DAW project files are not really portable right now, and it's not fault of DAW developers, and they are not real cause of the problem. And at the moment, we only share the rendered outcome productions. I mean, to iTunes Store, Google Play Store, Google Play Music, whatever, or YouTube, whatever, as MP3, FLAC, or OGG, whatever. That's a production file. I mean, the outcome rendered ones, not the project file. And we should be more generative. I mean, we should be able to share the sources. And by generative, what does that mean by there was a paper from a guy called Jonathan Dick Rain. He wrote a paper whose title was The Generative Internet back in 2006, sorry, 20 years ago, a very old one. And he kind of, and later he wrote a book titled The Future of the Internet and How to Stop It, and kind of And then he kind of discussed that Apple II, very classic one, was very generative because you could write and run any kind of software and run it. But iPhones were kind of opposite, like you are super restricted on what to run it. So it's not very generative, according to him. And the generative is more actually like something shareable, adaptable, I would say portable, and then users can decide what to run. It's kind of freedom, a typical freedom kind of thing in our world, right? And he then discussed the internet was made generative because you can read the source code of the web pages. It's kind of naive definition, but you can read the source code and then replicate the web structure into your web page, replacing the content to yours. And we should be able to share something like that for music files as well. And we used to do that by sharing standard MIDI files before, and right now it is not possible. Well, people can still share something like, say, I compose this music like this and that, and showing how he or she used the DAW to compose the tracks. And there are some videos on YouTube like that, but that's not what I meant. It's kind of educational, but not really generative enough. But at the same time, I don't want to go back to the MIDI 1.0 age. It is like too old, and MIDI 1 is a music file format, but it's instrument agnostic. That means like it doesn't contain the actual definition of how instruments should sound. It's not like audio plugins, so they only say like this is a piano part, this is a guitar part, and it doesn't give your exact audio outputs like say this has a distortion and overdrive whatsoever in these steps or not. That's not enough. So we should keep consistent instrumental experience wherever possible, and it should be possible. Another thing to discuss is licenses then. Who has your master switch? There's a famous book called The Master Switch, written by Tim Wu, and it's almost unrelated, but we have some people who has some control over how your song music project could be edited and played, recorded, whatsoever. And those softwares such as DAWs, plugins, and those music application SDKs and libraries that make up DAW and plugins, and also plugin format SDKs, they are all of those who have the control. And why the reason why it matters is like we have some past experience from say VST2 SDK. VST2 is one of the past popular format. Currently people use VST version 3 of the plugin format. Like a few years ago, until like 2019-ish, VST2 was the only popular format across platforms, and it was actually killed by the developer Steinberg in 2018. And the way it killed was like they asked those open source developers who contained the source code of the VST2 SDK to remove them totally away from the GitHub repo. So it was totally like they really wanted to kill completely, and we cannot build the newer VST2 SDK anymore unless you have already downloaded it. And especially it happened before macOS M1 was released, so there's no way for new developers to build the VST2 for macOS M1 or whatever. So, okay, I don't have a lot of time today, so let me quickly switch to the next topic. So I would discuss the audio plugin API differences and problems. So those plugin formats are actually sharing a lot of features and purposes. For example, if you want to use audio plugin software, in every format you have to first scan the existing audio plugins on the on the system, and also every plugin format support needs to take audio input and maybe MIDI input. Might not be MIDI, but let's say event input, and they need to generate audio output, and everything is connected together to make some music. And everything has, every plugin format supports parameters, like you can control the sound of and how the output is generated in real-time manner, so they can be changed through the playing. And then there are something that is called states or properties whatsoever, and the presets, like it's a program change, or say set the name of instruments like piano to guitar or guitar to bass or whatsoever. They are kind of presets, and they are not really changeable in real-time manner, so you can usually set only one state per plugin before playing anything, usually through the GUI. And then every plugin format has support for GUI, but not like, say, everything has a GUI framework by themselves. It's more like, say, let the DAW to show UI and hide UI and maximize, minimize the scale content whatsoever. Very minimal control over them. And they have a lot of unified area together, so there are many software development kits, SDKs, and libraries that make it possible to build audio plugins and instruments or effects mostly in C++. And there are softwares like DPF, iPlug2, and Juice. Juice is a very popular one, and to make everything in cross-platform manner and multi-plugin format manner, so you can write code once and run everywhere. It might sound smelly, but it works. And yeah, we want to have something like Linux LSP, Linux standard based kind of thing, maybe, but if possible. And then I discussed the common part of those, and now I want to dive into the different part of the things. Like, I can explain some tips, some of those today, but I only have 13 minutes, and I would need like maybe 2 hours-ish of full discussion. And there are people who investigated this kind of topics before, but I don't think I have time to explain everything enough. So let me just share of those. Okay, so by the way, all those slides are already shared on a speaker deck. I am Atsushi Eno, and so maybe you can find this slide as well. And let me just skip those today. So one other thing I want to discuss is, like, say, all those plugin formats need scanning of the plugins, but some of those are, well, VST3 in particular was very slow. Like, if you use set up a new laptop computer and then scan a new plugins after installing everything, it might take, like, say, 30 minutes to finish, depending on the platform, how many plugins you have on and how slow the computer is like. It's kind of problematic, but actually, the newer plugin formats don't need that much time. I mean, those old ones take time because they need to instantiate the plugin by loading the library as a program, which usually takes a lot of time. But newer ones only allows you, only needs to scan some text metadata or whatsoever. For example, for audio unit, they have an info playlist so that you can, database can scan text manually, and it could be very fast. The clap is still kind of old, and it still needs to load the library, but it's only scanning the metadata, so depending on the plugin itself, it can be very fast, but still slow. And audio unit and LV2 are good citizens over there. They only require metadata. The way how LV2 describes the metadata is very annoying, but it's another problem. It's very fast. Sample accurate event processing is another kind of new technology in this world. like say, audio processing is very tight in real-time manner. So when an audio plugin processes the audio, is like say they have very sliced time of audio wave data, and they are fed those audio data and with some event inputs. I mean, either say MIDI inputs or whatsoever, and then it should be processed within like say every slot it's like within 10 milliseconds or so, and then it's like it could be configurable. It can be longer or shorter, but it should be very in real-time manner, because people use audio plugins or DAWs while playing live music, and then if it is delayed, they start to feel laggy, and then you and the DAW are like say a slow player among the best players in the band, and it is not really acceptable. It is a computer. It should be doing the work very fast. And then when we processed events, they used to be processed only within the 10 seconds each slot, and sometimes it's like depending on the duration of the actual buffer, it might sound very laggy or whatever. It's not very consistent. So the modern audio plugin formats support time-stamped events, so that every audio processing can take those events considered during the DSP itself. And newer formats, I would say all of those VST3, audio unit, elevator craft, they support time-stamped events, but some audio plugin format SDKs, audio plugin SDKs like Juice were still based on old plugin formats like VST2, so they don't really support timestamps yet. So it is still an ongoing problem. It will be fixed in the next version of Juice, but not happening yet. And another difficulty in audio plugin API is like some plugin formats, in particular VST3 doesn't really support MIDI inputs directly. Other plugin formats can take MIDI inputs as is, and there's a reason VST3 developers thought that there's a fine-grained event formats called VST3 events other than MIDI events, and if you have two of those, it's just confusing. So they should be, MIDI events should be mapped to VST3 events, and MIDI inputs should be eliminated at all. It kind of makes sense, but it was actually not really fully mappable from MIDI to VST3 events, because namely MIDI has a concept of channels, and there are some instruments that works like a GM synthesizer and MIDI synthesizer, and they take channel inputs as a important part, and those developers complained that VST3 doesn't support the concept of a channel, so it's not really portable to VST3, and they stuck to VST2, and then the license was terminated, and then it caused a lot of problems there. But actually VST3 developers are not serious about fixing those issues, and they tried to implement a lot of workarounds to make it possible work, and it's kind of working, but it's at the same time they can't really introduce a backward incompatible changes, so they the way they fixed the issue was like kind of annoying. I mean, it is confusing, kind of. Another issue which is actually important to my session today is like the state of the audio plugins should be portable. I mean, if it's specific to the computer that you are using to compose music, and then you want to copy the music file to another one, they contain the state or data of the plugin, each plugin, and then if it's not portable, the entire project is not portable. And one thing to note is that some of those plugin formats require state of GUI somehow, and then if they contain some GUI states, it's not very likely portable to another platform, of course. It's because the GUI thing is very platform specific. And VST3 and the Clapper, they require the GUI thread to load and save states. So it's actually not very good API because saving and loading states means like you have to load the state from, for example, file, and you are loading and saving file on the main thread, which is not very good in modern computing. And the state itself must be actually portable across devices. If they are not designed to be portable enough, it's not going to be portable. I mean, the entire project is not portable. And also, if the state contains, say, name of the file on the file system in absolute path, it's not going to be portable. I mean, not even portable to another computer on the same operating system. It's going to be fixed. It needs to be fixed. I have a lot of similar discussion on this topic, but I only have 30 minutes, so let me just show the list of those. We have to say that we have a lot of problems or differences that could matter, and just that. So, can we do any better to fix these kind of annoyances and bring better portability across platforms? Can we build an Uber audio plugin format that solves everything? Well, while it might be possible in technically, it would not be possible in political reason. For political reason, like say Apple would never accept any plugin format other than audio unit, and the same goes for Cubase Steinberg. It would not support clap format maybe. And Bitwig is a developer of a clap format, and they somehow doesn't really accept elevative plugin format for whatever reason. I don't know. I don't understand. And maybe it is not doable at that level, but can we commonize those plugin format differences at the SDK software developing SDK level? It's actually already done. Just like Juice, iPlug to a DPF, they do that in that level. And the actual question should be maybe how much of those differences could be absorbed, unified together. And also thing to note is that I already mentioned that Juice doesn't support time-stamped events. Most of those only take MIDI version 1 messages to commonize the event inputs because they are applying to the standard way to express the events. And I mean, by supporting MIDI version 1, it's just like the world of 7-bit, the 0 to 127, so which is not very fine-grained, very traditional. And when discussing something like this, people would discuss like, isn't the new plugin format API or SDK considered harmful? Like say, yeah, it's a very common image from XKCD. Like people always complain like existing plugin, existing format or standards are not very enough, and so we should have any newer standard to make it the best one and the best and the only one. And of course, people don't accept, and there will be any +1 format to support. It's a very common issue. So people should avoid that in general. But I'm saying here, like it should be ignored. There's a reason. There are some case studies to fix this kind of issue. Like one of those is called a clap wrapper. A clap wrapper is like say people build some clap audio plugin, and then there's a software called clap wrapper to wrap it as VST3 or wrap it as audio unit, so that any existing DAWs that don't support clap, I mean many of those still don't support clap, and they could still use the clap plugin if the developer supports clap wrapper to export those as a VST3 audio unit, then the problem is gone. Another way to solve this kind of problem is that there's a software called, typically called host as a plugin. It is like, say, if some plugin works as an audio plugin to other DAWs, and then the plugin itself is actually just a host to load other plugins, it would solve a lot of interoperability issues. There's a software called Plugin Buddy, which is actually just a hosting feature, plugin that host as Juice. And then Juice supports multiple formats, and they can load VST3 audio unit LV to Clap. Clap, not Clap officially yet, but could be loaded. And then it could be the Plugin Buddy plugin itself could be loaded on, say, Logic Pro. So you can actually use VST3 plugin on Logic Pro somehow. There are many existing similar solutions on Linux using Wine to load Windows DLLs to be loaded on Linux DAWs somehow. People used to use a lot. So another thing to discuss is that there should be some common audio music project file format. And there are some existing efforts, like say one is Music XML, which is I think used mostly in scoring software such as MuseScore, and some instrument projects, like some of those virtual vocal synthesis software use Music XML as a supported format. But they are usually used only to describe some score or whatever, very limited scope, and not ready for music production in general yet. It might be extendable, but they're like audio plugin agnostic, and it's kind of a standard, so I don't think it's not going to happen anytime soon, at least. And there's another effort called Bitwig DAW project, which is like say they support this format so that Bitwig Studio can load and save it, and there's other DAW vendors actually worked together to make these files portable, loadable and savable within their DAW, such as Steinberg Cubase. But the big issue here is that Bitwig doesn't support LV2, and it's not really supported there well, so it's not going to be adopted in Linux DAWs yet, and maybe not forever. And there are some software that supports audio engines and open source, available as open source, so maybe their project file format could be even better. And if in the future we will have standard MIDI file too, which is still work in progress at the MIDI Association, and if once it's available, it might fix a lot of issues. And actually, can we use MIDI 2.0 to represent this kind of fine-grained music data? And it's actually possible a lot. But I had, back in 2023 or 2, I had a session here at COSCAP how MIDI 2.0 should work like. And maybe if you are curious about MIDI version 2, just check the past stream recordings of my session. And we still can't handle audio inputs or audio sampled audio tracks in MIDI, apparently, but it can be. Part of those could be used. An idea I want to share lastly is like we could be able to have some authorized list of, allow listed or whitelisted plugins to say like, oh, this plugin is ready for portable music, and you could use it. And this is okay. This is okay. This is not kind of listing. So there are some people who shared some similar idea in the past. So I think it is possible, but I need more investigation on some work rigors. And I have been experimenting some MIDI 2.0 features, but I don't have time to show some demonstrations over this today. So it's over for today. Thank you for listening. I ran out of 30 minutes right now, so I would be still available on questions, maybe outside, but I will come back to the session next one, so only limited time. Thank you so much. And sorry, one thing. I have some souvenir from a Linux audio conference that I just attended 2 months ago, and it is just a sugar that says Alusa. If in case you understand the joke, I can share some of those for you. Thank you so much.